He was halfway through a sentence when his son interrupted him, and he stopped. Completely. Not because he didn't know what to say next, but because he suddenly realized something uncomfortable. No one had noticed he stopped. The conversation just moved on without him. It wasn't rude. It wasn't intentional. It was simply easy to overlook him. And that hurt more than disrespect ever could. There was a time when people waited for him to finish, when his words carried weight, when his silence meant something. Now it barely registered. That night, instead of trying again, he leaned back and watched. And that's when he saw something he hadn't noticed before. Across the room sat another man about his age. Gray hair, quiet posture, not speaking much. But every time he did speak, the room adjusted. People leaned in slightly. Conversation softened. No one interrupted. It wasn't loud authority. It was something else, something controlled, something deliberate. And it made him curious. What was different? The other man wasn't talking more. He wasn't demanding attention, but he wasn't shrinking either. He held eye contact a second longer. He paused before answering. He didn't rush to fill silence. He let silence work for him. That detail stayed with him. The next morning, at the coffee shop, he tested something small. When the clerk asked for his order, he spoke clearly but slowly. The clerk nodded, then turned to grab another cup mid-sentence. Normally, he would have stopped speaking. This time, he didn't raise his voice. He didn't repeat himself immediately. He simply waited, still, calm. When the clerk turned back, he finished the sentence without apology. The clerk blinked. "Sorry, sir. What were you saying?" It was subtle, but it was different. He walked to his table thinking about that moment. Nothing dramatic had happened. No confrontation, no lecture. But the dynamic had shifted. For the first time in a while, he felt acknowledged. Not because he insisted, because he didn't retreat. That evening at dinner, it happened again. His grandson was telling a fast, excited story. In the middle of it, the boy cut him off. Normally, he would smile and let it go. This time, he didn't force his voice louder. He didn't interrupt back. He simply leaned back slightly and waited. Something unexpected happened. His grandson stopped mid-word, looked at him. "Sorry, Grandpa." The table grew quieter for a second, not tense, just aware. And in that awareness, he felt something return. Not control, not dominance, dignity. That was the word. He began noticing patterns after that. When he rushed, people rushed over him. When he softened his voice too much, people leaned away. When he spoke with steady pacing, people slowed down to match him. It wasn't about volume. It was about tempo, about certainty, about not giving away his place in the room before anyone asked him to. He realized something uncomfortable. For years, he had been slowly shrinking himself, speaking quicker, finishing sentences early, laughing off interruptions, acting as if his thoughts were optional, and people responded accordingly. Not out of cruelty, out of habit. So he changed one habit. He stopped abandoning his own sentences. If someone interrupted, he let them finish, then calmly returned to where he left off. No apology, no irritation, just continuation. At first, it felt unnatural. Then it felt powerful. Within weeks, subtle things changed. At the hardware store, a younger man stepped aside to let him finish speaking. At church, someone asked his opinion and didn't look at their phone while he answered. At dinner, conversations paused when he inhaled to speak. Not because he demanded space, because he occupied it fully. He realized something most men his age never get told. Respect doesn't disappear with age. Presence does. And presence can be rebuilt, one breath at a time, one sentence finished fully, one steady glance, one unhurried pause. It wasn't magic. It was alignment. His posture matched his experience. His pacing matched his wisdom. His silence stopped signaling surrender and started signaling control. And people felt it. The world hadn't changed. He had, and the world adjusted. He still got interrupted sometimes. But now, when it happened, he didn't shrink. He didn't rush. He simply held the floor calmly and continued. And more often than not, people listened. Not because he was louder, but because he was centered. That's when he understood something deeper. Authority is not taken from you. It is slowly handed away, and just as slowly, it can be reclaimed. Not through force, but through quiet consistency. Through being the man who does not abandon himself mid-sentence. Through becoming still enough that the room feels it. And once he saw that, he couldn't unsee it. If you want to see the exact shift he made that made people respect him in every room, not just at dinner, watch the next story. Because what happened after this surprised even him.